It is Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. We're going to open the regular business meeting at 5:30. Town of Diamond Valley acknowledges the traditional territories and people of Treaty 7 region, Southern Alberta, which include Blackfoot Confederacy members, Siksika, Kainai First Nations, the Stony Nakoda Bearspaw, Chiniki and Wesley bands, the Dene of Tsuut'ina First Nations, the Métis Region 3, and all those that make Treaty 7 into their home. Can I get an adoption for our agenda, please? City gives us that. So in favor. That is carried. Thank you, Heather. Can I get a motion to go and close? It's simply going to close at 5:30. Deputy Mayor, all in favor? That is carried. Camera off, please. Alrighty. Okay, we are going to reconvene today's meeting of February 7th at 6:39. We just had a small recess. We opened the meeting today at 5:30. We had an in-camera session. Point section 21(1)B. We came out of in-camera or closed session directly at 6:30. A quick little break, which you guys all ended up going at that point. And now we are reconvening. So we have an adopted agenda and we are moving on to 5.1 minutes of the regular meeting for council held January 17th, 2024. Can I get a motion to adopt those, please? Councillor Gordon gives us that. Any questions, concerns, comment? Regular, all good. All right, all in favor? Thank you, that is carried. Thank you, Heather. Question period. Question period is a 15-minute section of time allocated to the business meeting for the public to ask questions of council or administration, points of clarity, or general inquiry, anything you'd like. You can ask at that point. You can email your councillors, you can email the town, you can fill out the form. Any way you can communicate to us, we will take that form. If you're going to write it down at this meeting, there's a little tiny box on the side wall right there. We prefer if you fill that out for about 10 minutes before the meeting, then you hand it to administration. If there's any particular data that we need to get or a specialist that we need to get on the phone, sometimes you can answer it, sometimes you can't. It is. Administration, have we received any questions this evening?
Yeah, Mayor Crane, we do have one lady in attendance, Ms. Laura Lee Dick, would like to speak to you about an item that is on the agenda tonight regarding relocation of Diamond Valley Days. Okay. So just a reminder to council, we certainly can receive her question, but no responses or resolutions or decisions should be coming from that because it's before council.
Absolutely. Just to clarify that, so we won't answer your question as it's a debatable item, so we'll probably address that question at that time, but by all means, you can sit right here at the front, hit this little button on the microphone, and you have the floor. Welcome. Oh, it's all good. You're good.
Remember how to speak? We're doing a little level of it here right now.
Perfect.
I read the report that was provided by Diamond Valley Administration, and it seemed like the committee is splitting hairs. When you look at part of the items that are on it, it discusses parking. Well, you can park at either location, and it seemed like many areas that are provided, and I'm just going to use Turner Valley Back Diamond, makes it easier for me. Where they miss Turner Valley of Main Street, Sunset Boulevard, North, South, East, West, Kennedy Drive, parking lots provided from Sheep Creek Council and the church. And I kind of question of all the information that was, it's a reader, so I can't do that. Of all the information that was provided to you, because it kind of, I question the side of how this board presented it. Yes, there's traffic. There's no two ways about it. It doesn't matter what either location you go to, you're dropping people off, especially if there's an elderly person. And when you look at the access in Black Diamond, it's onto a gravel road. And if you've got people with mobility issues, that's going to be challenging for wheelchairs, walkers, people that aren't stable. And if you're in Millennium Park, it's got paved pathways for people to move up and down more freely, and it's a little bit more stable when it comes to walking. I feel sorry for the people who would have a party in their backyard in Black Diamond. I'm sure that's not what they would anticipate. However, I know these things have to happen for special events. Flaggers, you're going to require at either location. It doesn't really matter because when it comes to parking and traffic, it's still going to come play in its own little way. If you look at activities that are such as face painting and safety, as discussed in the report, where the acknowledgement was the relief from heat. And going into the sports arena and you can paint faces in these areas. Well, Turner Valley, you can sit in the library, you can go to the gazebo, you can sit underneath trees and park benches. These are a lot of little things. The bigger ones, of course, are expenses. You indicate the report indicates no need for RCMP to be there, bylaw sheriff. And I respect that. You can also get volunteers to help with a large portion of that. And it indicates at one point shuttle buses to from Turner Valley to Black Diamond. Well, that is something that could happen either or. It doesn't really matter. If we're willing to do this, it is something that could be played in either direction. Relocating this event will greatly impact not only many local businesses, but nonprofit organizations such as Sheep Creek Art Council, St. George's Anglican Church, and the Sheep River Library. Historically, on Discovery Days, both the library, Sheep Creek Art Council, and Anglican Church host annual fun. Am I at 5 minutes?
No, you're okay.
That's right.
You're at 15 minutes tonight. You get.
Oh, no.
No.
Historically, on Discovery Days, both the library, Sheep Creek Art Council, and Anglican Church host annual fundraisers through book, bake, and quiche sales, which are a source of income they rely on for their annual budget. It is nice the Diamond Valley administration has offered space for these organizations to promote their businesses. It is not the same, and the administration is missing a key point with their connection to Discovery Days in our community. With individuals coming in to make purchases or explore these venues, it provides an opportunity for all three nonprofits to showcase what they're all about versus receiving a brochure at a table with all the other vendors in the area, in the arena. For anyone new to Diamond Valley or a tourist driving through town who chooses to partake in the festivities, these people will learn about all the different classes and programs offered by the Library, Church, and Sheep Creek Art Council. This is free advertising which educates and re-educates many people on what our community has to offer and what we stand for. To date, Discovery Days has been a tradition for 94 years in Turner Valley, and it makes sense to hold this event in Millennium Park, as this is when the town of Turner Valley was originally founded. If the amalgamation had not occurred, this would be a moot point. Knowing the city of Calgary has a population over 1.5 million and closes the majority of downtown core for their annual Stampede Parade, and residents accept the vast majority amount of traffic for 10 consecutive days around Stampede Park during the Calgary Stampede. Surely Diamond Valley can accept this annual tradition, recognizing the town of Turner Valley being founded in Turner Valley. This is not just a party. Canada is losing its traditions and connections to history. My family's from here. Don't let this tradition remove from Turner Valley because of traffic and because of parking issues. I ask council to please vote no to relocate the Discovery Days to Diamond Valley and keep them in Millennium Park.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Well done. Have we received any other items?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. As previously stated, we will be debating this item later in the agenda, and by all means, stick around and listen to that debate. All right. Moving on from question period. Closed at 6:47. Excellent. 6.3, motions rising, we have none. Statutory hearings, we have none. And delegations, we have none. So hitting bylaws and policies, bylaw 9.1, bylaw 2023-31, land use bylaw 2021-06, amendment TC 6. Council, we have been well versed on this. We have passed first and second reading. It is here tonight for its third reading. We don't necessarily need administration to go through this again. I think we're all very familiar. I will take a motion and then we will open the floor for debate if that so chooses council's wish.
Mayor Crane, I do just want to point out that we are asking for one textual amendment prior to giving third reading, right? So if you can look for proposed options, we discovered this thing.
Yeah. Okay, 6 foot, no, wait, what do we have? 6 meters, right? We had 6 meters, we had 6 meters.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'll give the first one if that's okay.
so are we gonna make sure that 6 feet?
6 feet. Yeah. All right, good with one.
Yeah.
I'll give it one. Okay. The council amends, excuse me. The council amends proposed bylaw 2023-31 section II by replacing the maximum fence height of 6 meters with 1.8 meters, 6 feet. Nothing further.
Excellent, and that was a simple clerical, yeah, an easy one. Any debate? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Heather? Thank you. All right, I will take option 2. Councillor Holiday, go ahead.
Bylaws, they took it as 31 as amendment.
All right, council, any debate? Heather,
Hi, everyone.
go to you first.
I'm okay with this as long as planning has their eye on the resident concerns during the development permit process. That's it.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I'm of mixed feelings on this. I know we need this commercial space. I know one of our members of the Economic Development Committee has submitted an email showing his support for that, and I really appreciate the advice that Mr. Mark Mueller has given to us as around the table on the Economic Development Committee. I still share that concern that I expressed in our second reading and the issues concerning the environmental concerns. I'm not sure that we have really mitigated those. And one of the concerns I've had all along is the traffic mitigation and the concerns for our children in that area. I like the fact that we're going to be putting in sidewalks on the south side. We're going to be putting in, you're going to see a report here later about the traffic calming measures that were a major concern for our community there. We're putting stop signs along that way. There's a bit of a chicane along First Avenue as you head east, which will slow down traffic even further. So I don't see the traffic as the concern that it was prior, but I still have those environmental concerns. So definitely, I'm still on the fence on this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Schleifer.
I have flooding concerns. Having been through that flood in that neighborhood, that block took a horrible hit. Like, that was terrible for the people who live there. And a lot of them lived through 2013, still live there. So I keep a close eye on that during the development process.
Excellent, thank you. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, this to me has always been the issue, whether an apartment building should go there versus a commercial within a smaller. It's on it. To me, I think the disruption to the communities and the people, landowner should have rights to develop how they want to. They have made a significant investment in the community and will be making them. So I'm okay with it because I think that we can mitigate most of the concerns of the development stage. And whether it's 30-some unit apartment complex versus commercial on 10 units.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I echo Councillor Thompson and Councillor Holiday's comments as well. I think that the discussion is more so around residential unit versus a mixed unit. And I think that the residential would actually pose a greater risk in terms of traffic and kind of all hours type of use. I'm in support of the mixed use. It's got a lower footprint. And I too will be looking closely and look forward to working with development through the building process.
I'm in favor. I'm in favor of this proposal. Flood mitigation is one that we wanted to have a little look at. But if we had a 2013, it wouldn't matter what you did. Everyone in that neighborhood is going to get flooded anyway. Not that we want that, but that's the reality if we had another 2013. But there are measures that we can do for sloping and grade, and that's in development's hands and the development stage permit to ensure that is taken care of. And it'll come back to council for review at that time. As this is just approving the land use change. I'm good to call the vote, but Councillor Gordon, final say, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to clarify. So thanks for mentioning that. And since our planner is here, because this is DC, when the development permit is submitted, council would still have a purview and a review of that, correct?
Council is the decision making authority.
Perfect. So we would see that come down. All right, thank you.
100%. All right. That being said, I call the question. All in favor? Heather?
Aye.
And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on. Best of luck, Cap. Thank you for investing in the town. 9.2 bylaw 2024-43, application to amend land use bylaw 2021-06. I will hand that one over to Mr. Sharp. Stick handle.
Mayor Crane, thanks. I'm going to defer to the planning department here, Ms. Floresville and or Ms. Stewart.
Thank you. Yeah, come on down. And the microphone is on for you right there, so that's perfect. There we are. Okay, floor is yours, Denise. Thank you.
And just the chair. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Today I'm presenting a land use bylaw amendment. It is bylaw 2024-43. It is something new for council to consider in that we're suggesting that council consider a new district to accommodate a subdivision of narrower lot for two narrower lots. So the property is 223 First Avenue Northwest. It is currently, this parcel is currently zoned central business. It's the only central business within the 200 block of First Avenue. It had been previously approved to have a moved on house back in the 1990s, but nothing occurred. That development did not occur. And then the current owner purchased the property. Working with the planning department, several proposals have been presented for consideration. But given that it's the parcel is just really right on the fringe. Sorry, I'm just jumped right in. Going verbatim through this report that I prepared, but it's right on the fringe. So it made it very difficult for a commercial development because you have to have about half a meter above the flood. And then they have to elevate it. It's not really a particularly wide lot. So doing commercial development on it just wasn't practical. So what the applicant is proposing is that that the redesignation be to a R1N parcel. And so that's a narrow lot parcel. And the proposed future development of it would be to put on two moved on or ready to move homes. So they're of a single wide manufactured home housing type. To go through the support in our statutory documents, our municipal development plan. This parcel is shown for residential use within our municipal development plan, land use concept plan. Under the goals of the municipal development plan that is supported by this proposal is to provide a smaller lot size and a manufactured residential home development, which is currently not available in our community. So manufactured homes currently in our community have to be double wide homes. Single wide are only allowed within our current mobile home park. So there's some developmental constraints, as I suggested, but being that they're manufactured homes, they can be put on screw piles so that screw piles will satisfy that flood mitigation. So I think it's rather a good creative use and probably the best use for this parcel. And then that helps them address the flood fringe issues. From residential objectives, this does provide a new housing model or lots of words, but just to provide a greater variety of housing types. Smaller lot, of course, means that it'll be a more affordable manufactured home. It'll be a more affordable. It might be a particular of interest to maybe a first time mortgage holder or, a smaller home unit or something for a senior that doesn't want a whole lot of yard maintenance to move into. Under the existing and residential policies, within the municipal development plan, it does show again as residential. This site has currently been vacant in the history that we have in our land use bylaw. Yeah, forever. I'm not aware of it having ever been occupied. There are no services to the parcel at this. So I would support that. It's close enough to our downtown. It's always nice to have those lots filled in for greater security of our downtown. The proposed development meets the parking requirements and, yes. So that's a vote.
Just for clarity, it's just the one unit will be sliding in there, correct?
It's divided, she said two.
Yeah, that's why he said, so that's why I was asking, so just
Right.
for clarity.
So this is to provide a subdivision. So we're going to redesignate it. That's the proposal, to redesignate it to a narrow lot residential so that they can subdivide it and then they can put 2 manufactured homes on them.
Just be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron, but let's go here for the quick. And make it.
Fair frame of motion's fine, and then we can discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what we proposed here is ideal for, it's in keeping with what already exists there. The lot to the, this is my neighbor. The lot to the west is a 0 lot line. And I think 2 single wides would fit in just great on this parcel. So the motion is that council gives the planning draft copy by law 2024-43 first reading and directs administration to set a public hearing for a later date.
Thank you. We have a motion on the board. Cindy.
Okay, manufactured homes are very different than mobile homes, are they not? We're like talking about single wides, but that's not the same as manufactured, right?
Well, we don't call them
Move on.
mobile homes anymore. They are all
No,
manufactured.
but there's
Whether
there's
they're-
a difference on make. Is there,
Well, they're all,
they're ready to move, RTMs. So is this an RTM? Is it not?
it's a 2x6 construction manufactured home.
It's an RTM, it's not a mobile.
It's an RTM.
It's
I've
not.
built and drywall.
Okay.
It's an RTM.
Okay. So I'm totally fine with the type of housing that's going in there. I think it's very confused, but why are we not doing like a duplex rather than having to go through the work of subdividing, having a duplex attached to the garages at the back? Like, why are we creating, especially when we have our MDB coming up and we're gonna redo our land use bylaw, to come up with these one-off little additions seems really weird at this stage of the game. Creating more one-time land uses versus making our land use bylaw simpler, right? So I'm just wondering, was there a different, how, did you look at a different way of doing this? As an R2 with detached garages or attached, like, I know they did in High River, you attach the garage so the houses could be separate. And then it's an R2 lot and you don't have to create a land use bylaw, you don't have to subdivide it. Is that not, do you know what I'm getting at?
I understand what you're getting at, sure. So this is a applicant-driven land use bylaw amendment. So the applicant and his business partner do have access to 2 manufactured homes that they want to move onto this parcel. So they have the investment already in the manufactured homes. And so this makes it an ideal scenario for this parcel. Although while you're correct, it could be side by side housing. That's not the inventory that they have at their disposal.
Yeah, Carrie has her hand up. Maybe she knows what I'm talking about.
Sure, Jerry, go ahead.
Thank you, through the mayor. Pine has been approached multiple times by multiple developers on both sides of the river to offer a much more narrow lot option than what we currently have in the land use bylaw. Instead of coming to you for an amendment on an existing district to make it significantly more narrow than is currently allowed in those districts, we opted to bring forward a new district that has very specific considerations for how narrow it is, so that we don't get caught in the trap of, let's change this thing in this district. Oh, but now we have to change this and this and this and this. And now everybody's home can possibly be open to these new rules. So what we have decided to bring forward today in consultation with the applicant, as Denise said, it is an applicant-driven proposal. And supported by multiple other developers, is to come forward with a very specific suite of rules that regulates these smaller lots. So you'll see, for example, the planning proposal with regards to coverage is a little bit unique given how small the proposed lots. And that's why we're coming forward with this, is that you've heard feedback from our development community and from our residents that they want something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit more affordable. And this is how we're proposing to manage that kind of development until we get to our new land use bylaw, which of course could be potentially 5-6 years away.
Thank you. Cindy, follow up.
Follow up. So you're saying the smallness of this and the widths. So that's why the R2 wouldn't work in this scenario.
Yes.
It's way too small.
Yes, the minimum site width for a single detached house in R2 is 16.8 meters.
Jonathan, did you have a query?
No, that was my same concern. I'm not a big fan of adding districts. You know, I think that's a challenging thing, but I understand why we're doing that and what's that been requested for in this case. So that's been clarified.
Excellent. All right. Cindy, you're.
Hello,
Hi, Heather. Go ahead. Thanks.
I kind of am on the sideline or on the fence on this one. So Denise, you're saying it is not a mobile home. It is a manufactured home. So I'm fine with that. So, and you did say that they could be on pylons, not a garage or a pad. The other thing that I had questions about is you actually didn't note how big the lot is on your map. The dimension of the actual lot, like how big is that lot?
Yeah, it's 466 square meters, I believe. And so it made two. So the dimensions then? Is that what you're asking me?
Because you've given us all the dimensions for the combined 2-story, for this single, for floor. But the actual lot, I don't see the actual dimensions of that lot and how much space is in between the modular homes, the manufactured homes.
Sure. So I've got the application back at my at the other table, but the separation distance between the yards, it meets the minimum 1.2 required side yard. And then the separation between the two manufactured homes would be 3 meters. So 1.5 meters, I believe is what it is. on
So is-
the side yard setback between
So
the two
is that,
houses.
is that normal or is that narrow, narrower than like, let's say an R1?
So within our R1C district, which is our Riverwoods lots,
Yeah.
the minimum side yard setback is 1.2. So it's going to have the same minimum side yard setback as our traditional stick-built home districts.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question, because as we all know, manufactured homes, well, I guess maybe you don't all know, but you know, my thing is safety and fire and stuff like that. So I just wanted to know if it was the same as what an R1 would be. So it sounds like it would be. So I would be okay with this, giving it first reading and then moving on to the public hearing. Thanks,
So in
everybody.
R1, just
Go ahead.
sorry if I
Thank you,
may,
Heather.
for point of clarification, Councillor Thompson, the side yard setback in R1 is 1.5 meters, but in R1C, which is our latest subdivision, is 1.2.
And or you can always ask for a variance to get your 1.2. So we're going to call a vote. All in favor? Heather?
Aye.
Thank you. That is carried. All right. Thank you. Give a little check right there. Community 014 policy amendment 9.3. Who do we have up here?
Mayor Crane, I can lead in with that.
I was just gonna say, you can take this one away, Mr. Sharp.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor Crane. Tonight before you, council, we have some suggested policy amendments to our community -014 policy that will allow us to provide clarification and we believe improve some efficiencies in the application process and decision process. Specifically, we'd like to make a change to a rolling application deadline. It's more responsive to the applicants as they apply. And secondly, we'd like to set guidelines on funding limits for applications. That's not to take council's ability away to award more money to a group if they so see fit, but we would like to set a limit to $1,000 unless council sees fit to award others. The second thing is some textual changes and the requirement for a post-event report from the group, not to make it onerous on a group, especially if we're giving a small amount of money and then asking to come back with a big report. But in some cases, in order to be eligible for future grants, because we do have some groups that come back, we want to hear about how it went and have the council, for a few reasons, not the least of which is have council show appreciation for the good work that's being done in the community. So those are the changes we're asking to have made.
Excellent. Thank you. Council? Thank you.
So if you want to go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
So as I make this motion, I do want to thank administration for making sure you showed the changes in the document for us to be highlighted. That draws our attention. We really appreciate that. What you're changing, it makes it very clear. So I'm going to give the motion here that council approve policy community -014, the community support grant policy as amended.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions, concerns from council? Heather, I'll ask you first. We're getting all head nods down here.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
No
excellent.
questions.
Council, any debate? I echo Councillor Gordon, good work. All in favor? And that
Aye.
is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. All right, that one's done. 10, action items. 10.1, request for removal of property taxes penalty roll number 623440. Todd, I'll hand this one over to you to introduce unless you have someone else who wants to go through this. Council, you have 3 sheets here, plus the backstory on your 4th page. I hope you all read it because I think it's very detailed. So, Todd.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. I'll try to simplify a number of conversations that were had with the applicant here, with the resident. In a nutshell, there are a number of penalties that have been applied to this individual's tax roll, and they, long story short, they purchased a property. I'll try to get this right. They purchased a property. Thought they were on tips. They were not on tips. Taxes weren't being made, or tax payments, either installments or otherwise, were not being made. And there were penalties applied to that. The dispute comes as to whether the resident would have known or not known as to whether payments, regular payments were being made. So I offer you the following background. When the purchase was made, there was a letter included by the lawyers to the purchasers, indicate the seller's lawyer, or sorry, the buyer's lawyer, indicating they wanted to go on the TIPS program. Not disputing that. In September of 2022, the town sent a letter to the new owners of this property, indicating that they weren't on the TIPS and that penalties could be applied to the account. No response. There was no notice, excuse me, there was no observation by the resident that money was not coming out of their account in the form of monthly installment for close to 18 months. So no payments had come out of their account for 18 months. Tax notices and statements had been sent out in June of 2023 as part of the regular process. And then in December 2023, our tax department followed up with the residents to let them know that no payments had been made. So on 4 different occasions, we believe that we had reached out to the residents to let them know that. And it's for these reasons, we're recommending to council that no credits be applied for the tax penalties on the residents' tax account.
Okay, thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? I do have a question though. At what point triggers a notification to a resident that they've missed even 1 month? Okay, so I guess it doesn't matter, and that's why, well, it's the TIPS program. So I guess if you're not up to TIPS, it wouldn't trigger anything, would it? Okay. Councilor Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of wish our tax clerk was here for this. Some of our residents have their property taxes through the bank on the mortgage. So how does that impact a situation like this? Would there have been something missed on their lawyer's end? Because it would have to be rolled into a mortgage, right?
Right, so I can't speak to the bank's processes. I can tell you that in those cases, we do get the taxes submitted annually.
Oh, it's an annual.
For those tax accounts. Right, so it's and then collected in arrears, I guess you could say, from the residents until there's a catch-up period. So we would have had a lump sum payment made on our tax account for that.
Well, that's not seen in this. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can speak further to this because, thank you, Mayor Gray, through the mayor. That was initially the way that we did our first mortgage here. And when we switched banks, we were actually given a lump sum because they overcharge to make sure that they can pay it off annually. In the case of the lawyer, this is all part of your closing costs when you sign off on documents. I definitely empathize. We went through a very similar situation when we moved to Black Diamond at the time. And we hadn't actually given the town office our PO box number, so we didn't get the letters. They were just sitting at the town office, and we had to pay quite an increase back about 8 years ago after we bought our house here. And we're given no leniency from the council. I won't say the mayor or the council members at that point, but we expressed a very similar letter, and they came back and said it was up to you as a new community member to provide your PO box number to the town, which I hadn't done. And a couple $1,000 taught me a hard lesson.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't know. That's why I have problems. We're seeing it more and more, and I wonder what is being dropped.
See, I'll just explain forward. I know they reached out to the people.
And this one is the. Sorry, I can't. I'd like to, but I would point out, and this is what I'd like to see maybe is, says in the letter, when we moved here, we enrolled in auto payment, submitted our pre-authorized debit form, our move-in notification, a letter from our lawyer stating we'd like to be on tips. This was apparently not sufficient documentation, as we're never enrolled nor notified that we would have to pay manually. We have 22 tax notice that instructs us not to pay this tax bill, as we are under pre-authorized payment plan. So you do have that?
I do, yeah.
So that's where I have an issue. Is we have sent documentation that states that, don't worry about it, you're on the plan. So for me, that really makes this difficult.
So
That could be a question.
because you have to pay your taxes. If you moved in July, you have to pay half the year, July to December. And if you started in 2023, then yes, you wasn't in the tips program, but you did miss 6 months prior to it.
We have the applicant or the resident in the room. And I know it's not total protocol, but I would love to see that if I could. Just so we could do some paperwork. We got the time. Date, if it's there. Yep. So current outstanding is here, current total taxes payable here. Between two. So where's this? So I'm looking for the one that states, yeah, that's arrears. I'm looking for the one that states that you got it, that said, do not pay this tax bill. That's the one I'd like to.
That's on the bottom. It says you're registered on the TIPS program.
You are on pre-authorized payment plan and the amount of your bill will be automatically withdrawn from your account.
That's for the previous one,
Yes.
because that
Yes.
statement would have been mailed out prior to like the beginning of 2022 before the rest of the amount of previous.
That's correct, Counselor.
Right, that's nothing, that's not anything to do with after. I do wonder about if we're sending out multiple notices, why we're not registering them at some point, and then we don't have the excuse, I didn't get it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is there,
You know what, I'm not sure, Counselor Albany, it could be a capacity, right? I mean, you know, the tax department is very, and tax and utility staff are very lenient when it comes to residents that stay in touch, that want to make some sort of arrangements to, to stay out of arrears or to make a regular payment plan. The information that I have to go on is as I said to you, there were a minimum of 4 notices sent. And the other thing is there were clearly no debits coming out of this resident's account for taxes at some point over the 18 months. We hope that the resident would have noticed that in good faith and reached out to us and said, hey, I thought I was on tips. What's going on? So that we have an opportunity to fix this. We don't scrutinize every person on the tax roll in an effort to find the flaws or the misses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like I say,
Thank you.
I mean, we leave it up to our residents to either join the TIPS program or pay. It's not up to the tax department to tell someone to get on the TIPS program or to not. That's up to the discretion of the resident.
That's good.
This one, because I have concerns with what I have in my hand here on the manner in which this document was produced, I'm going to show it to administration in just a second, but before I do, because of what I'm going to identify to them, I'm thinking we may want to defer this one. Yeah, because Yeah, this is there, so, yeah, that's. Still understand like what I'm thinking is. Yeah, we'll put the people that were in chat. I'm gonna make motion that we diverge. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to defer. I think that's a good idea, because there are some implications there that I think is sure best. So, let's not waste time, all in favor? All opposed?
I don't know.
I,
That's what you just said.
I don't know why we're, yeah, I don't know why we're diverting. You didn't know to explain why. we-
Okay, sorry, I'll explain it first, sure.
The vote still went through.
No,
You don't have to explain it now. The vote-
Well, please do. Please do.
so the reason I requested a deferral on that, and administration was aware, the way the system works on an existing tax roll, it carries over the information from the prior owner, and it then is printed off with that information there, and then an address change is made following. And so we want to be sure that the process was followed to make sure that the client and the new owner was aware of the situation in its fullest context. So therefore, that was why I was requesting that we defer, just mainly due to lack of information and the need for clarity.
So, Mayor, Council, I want to reiterate.
Yeah.
September of 2022, the town sent a letter to the owners indicating they were not on the tips and penalties could be applied. Tax notice and say, September of 2022, I don't have that letter here. Tax notices and statements were sent out in June of 2023, so I'm showing a balance owing, a back balance owing. And then in December of 2023, the tax department followed up with the residents to let them know of the outstanding amount on the account. So there were a minimum of three, post-purchase, a minimum of three times when the town reached out. And when you add the fact that clearly no payments were coming out when the resident expected that that would be happening because they're on tips, after 18 months, there was no contact between the resident and the town to flag it.
Yeah, I did. I already accepted the vote to defer. Well, it'd be the next meeting. Yeah, we simply bring it back. It's in good faith that we follow. Make sure, but I do appreciate your very poignant clarity, Todd.
This opens the door to every letter that was sent out with those dates. I could go back and look at mine now with that exact same information the council just approved and say, because I got this letter, council's now gonna approve.
Nope, we're not, we're just saying we're gonna bring it back next meeting.
Okay.
And make sure that we have all the information covered. Okay, so in other words, you could have said, table it for next meeting.
Okay.
If we want more information, so we just send it for Cindy.
Yeah, what I'm looking for next meeting is, there's that time, if that's correct, and they've got something saying when they bought the house that they're on tips. But then there's only leniency up until when they get the first notice saying you're not on tips, in my opinion. Which that's like, I'm not, if you haven't paid it for the last year and a half after getting 4 letters, yes, we can't provide. But I think there's some discussion about getting a statement saying you're on tips until a couple months later. Like you get the first notice saying you're not on tips, right? That's where I think.
Yes. Yes.
Not.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I just don't want to look at one letter,
No,
and then make a decision.
Yeah, so that's what I want to understand is, was there really something going out saying you're on tips when they first bought the house until the new letter came?
So yeah, we see what that's.
yeah, thank you. So deferred, a little bit more information, and we'll bring it back at our next council meeting. And we won't spend too much time. We'll have the information we want, we can make a decision. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for providing that information. Moving on, tax roll number 10.2, request for removal of tax penalty roll 56000. You go ahead. Okay, Cindy, you got the floor. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Go ahead. Cindy, your microphone's out.
Oh, he came in twice.
Yeah.
And I think this was just some miscommunication, our system down. I have no problems with it. Approving it for, so that's, $36.94.
Ooh, hey. Tax money there, right? Motion, please?
But I know we don't like opening can of worms.
No.
There's a 6 month stuff here.
But yeah, I will, this one, that council draft administration to credit the property tax account for roll number 56000 in the amount of $36.94. To notify the property owner accordingly.
Thank you. Any debate on this one, ladies and gentlemen? All in favor?
Just a second, I don't want to have a debate here, but this, the situation in itself is challenging when the system's down and then it becomes a delay between the two. It's just something for us as council with our incoming CAO to consider to make sure we have a standardized policy to follow in this event, the documentation, so that we don't come here and get, we call it a service level agreement of some sort, so that we don't face this again, because it is a bit of a burden on our residents to be confronted with such a situation. And it's on our side to make sure we have a proper procedure in place to eliminate this kind of confusion.
I think, just to follow up on that, new home sales should trigger a very direct notification period. So like that month, letter goes out, here are your options, right? So anyway, we have motion on the floor. Any further debate? All in favor? And that is carried. Heather,
Yep, yes,
thank you. Okay, thank you. Moving on. We have the Sheep River Regional Utility Corporation 2024 draft budget and AGM. Heather, we're gonna have you make a full presentation. Just kidding. Okay, questions from council?
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. Not much to talk about for water. Yeah, go ahead.
Like council approved the 2024 Shrunk operational and capital budget as presented.
Excellent, thank you. Heather, would you like to speak to anything in particular on there? Any
No, the
highlights you'd
Shrunk-
like to point out?
the Shrunk board went through it thoroughly and approved it. And we did ask for some minor changes and those have been done. So I'm in favor of the council approving the budget. Or accepting it as
Thank you.
presented.
So, thank you, council. Any comments, concerns? Myself, Councillor Holiday and Councillor Thompson sit on there. It's a clean budget. All in favor? Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for making that. That is approved. Thanks for
Aye.
the work.
There's a second motion.
Yes, please.
We're supposed to appoint someone to vote, so I think that would be Mayor Green would be our best. Questionable? You might not support that motion.
Excuse me, I
actually,
think
but
it has to be one of the board members.
Is it very?
Board
Yes,
has to be-
you, nine.
Okay. Does that mean you're volunteering or should I have Barry?
I'll be home by then and okay. I can go.
Make a motion that we appoint Councillor Thompson
Okay,
to vote in Diamond Valley's behalf at the February 22nd, 2024 Sheep River Regional Utility Corporation AGM and advise the CEO of the board accordingly. All in favor? That's carried. Alrighty. Community support grant, can I get a motion, please? Bigger city.
I'll give you that motion.
Excellent. Any conversation, any worries? Figure skating is great. I've attended 3 of their annual performances.
I'm still waiting for you to do the double axle. and
Well,
Work with,
It could be bad. It could be bad. I can't even play badminton anymore.
so the council approved the Foothill Skating Club Community Sport Grant Fund application request in support of the annual ice carnival event in the amount of $1,000.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I just don't want us to be in the middle of summer and not have community grant money anymore. Community grant money, the total expenses were only 1,700. I am in support of the 1,000. I do just want to keep council on task about some big events that we'll have in the summer. So, while I support it, I just want to make sure that we're thinking, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, and then by the end of summer, we may not have any more thousands. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm in favor.
Excellent, thank you. Any comments? Yeah, Councillor Holden.
Yeah, actually, there's 500.
Yeah.
For all of them,
Yeah.
so,
That's fine.
yeah.
But their expenses are 1,725. We're spending 1,000 is more than half of their total expenses. It's my opinion.
Yeah, I know we can go up to 1,000, but that doesn't mean we should go up to 1,000 every time, so. Yeah, and I know. Recently, we've been doing 500.
Hello?
Yeah.
In the past, we have. Go ahead, Heather.
I think that this one I'm fine with for 1,000. This is a once a year request that they put forward. However, some of the other ones, I potentially won't be in favor of 1,000. So if we can move forward with this, I'm good with the 1,000.
Excellent.
So I hear competing interest. Do I have a friendly amendment?
Well, I'm thinking the ice rental fees are $750, so $750 will meet in the middle on this one.
I'll make a friendly amendment and do 750.
Okay, friendly amendment, 750. Going
Yeah,
once.
I'm okay with that.
Going twice. All in favor. Yeah, this should be part of the policy, is that should be done as an auctioneer. It's later on. Okay, excellent, thank you. Community Sport Grant, Oilfields High School Team Handball Championship Event. Can I get a motion, please? Heather, this one you wanna,
I can give you
chop
this.
down a
one.
bit?
This is one that, if I could just get Verna to scroll down there. This is one that I would make a motion to support in the amount of $500 for the OHS handball tournament. And the reason I would like to see only $500 is we keep getting different requests for support from the high school for, handball. Well, this is a new one, handball, but basketball, volleyball tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that, for the school ones, the kids can do some fundraising, and they do fundraising. And I just would like to see this go to 500.
Excellent,
We
thank
seem
you.
to support them all,
Deputy-
so.
Yeah, no, great points. Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Thompson, definitely agree with you. I'm gonna look to administration if we could do 500, and if there's any potential swag that we could add, because I do see that they have some things that they're gonna give away. Is there any pins, pens, anything that we could throw in on top of the 500 that wouldn't be, would that be okay? Or even one big auction item, perhaps, like a gift basket?
So what I'm hearing is 500 plus some sort of a door prize package or something like that.
Not to exceed. That's coming to you soon. You better be careful.
We can handle that.
Couple of shirts.
Can handle that. Do you need a not to exceed number or 500 and you're okay?
We'll be fine.
Okay, got it. Heather, Councillor Thompson, you okay with that?
Yes, fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Going once, going twice. All in favor?
Aye.
That is approved. Thank you. Community Support Grant, Foothill School Division Indigenous Graduation Events.
Yeah, this one,
What's our number?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give you Cindy.
yeah, I was hoping to be more generous.
They will definitely be happy if
That
we
one,
were.
so I would just like to go 500.
500 is perfect.
That's okay. The council approved the Foothill School Division Indigenous Graduation Event Grant Application Request in the amount of $500.
Excellent. Going once. Going twice. Seeing no comment, all in favor? Thank you.
I,
Very Mayor Craig, I didn't see a vote from every counselor. Can you see that vote again?
All opposed?
I've been opposed to all.
Oh, what up?
No comment?
Have it recorded.
No, I did not.
I just didn't look left.
You don't?
No. Okay,
Good eye for an
right. If it's carried, it's carried, unless requested.
No, that's not what Secret Bylaw says.
I'm asking for,
There you go.
You're ignoring this side of the table entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, come-
You should have let me sit there. I asked to sit there and then I could see.
Yeah, come back to the settings.
10.7, feasibility of consolidating Diamond Valley Day activities to the recreation complex.
Can I take this?
Yes, Ken, we're gonna have a presentation early.
Yeah, Mayor Craig, I'll defer to Ms.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see you. Sharp, if you don't mind, I'd like to remain here because I'd like to not have my back to the audience. And I just want to acknowledge Ms. Dick's comments and to thank you very much for coming forward. There was no disrespect ever meant in this. So having been involved for the past 14 years, I understand it quite well. If I recall, council had requested that administration, it was suggested, I believe, by Councillor Holiday, that it consider consolidating the event because it would potentially be more streamlined. We'd create some efficiencies and less inconveniences to the traveling public and to those that were on one side of the river going to the event on the other side. And that in itself caused many, many delays. And as staff, having been involved for so many years, we understand it keenly that it did cause many disruptions and quite a few complaints, I would say, from the public. So we present this to you as very objectively looking at it. It's not a preference. We understand that there's challenges. But as a result of having investigated and done the research at the administrative level, we bring it to council, and I would actually retract the recommendation because I do believe that this is something that lies flatly in front of council because it does have an impact. And as you know, people are very attached to it in terms of the history of it. I've only been involved for the last 13, not the 94, but I know that it's been in existence for a long time. We have migrated from the theme of it slightly to be more inclusive of Diamond Valley. And so the name has changed. And as you know, recently, there were also some changes in the parade route that council had approved. So the purpose of what we presented is that essentially there are mostly benefits to this in terms of those conveniences. But the challenges and those issues that do become quite prevalent are for those organizations that depend on it as part of their fundraising efforts. So we are keenly aware of this, and the option to that was to try and provide some space and opportunity for them to have pop-ups or market spaces, of course, free of charge, to be able to help them promote the event. But it is different than being on site. The other thing, just to remind council, is that we have a lease agreement with ConocoPhillips, and we require a 3-month notice prior to hosting any large event on that property. So one of the reasons we bring this forward is that we really are under the gun as far as timing here for both the parade and this portion of the event planning. We need to line up suppliers. We're working on volunteer recruitment. There is a staff of 2 people, but very few hours in the day that we can devote to this other than putting in some extra time because we just don't have a full-time event staff. So we put this in front of you for consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you've read the document, I don't have to go through it, but I will if you prefer. And for your consideration as to whether or not to relocate it and consolidate the event.
Excellent, thank you. No, council's been more than read up on this one for sure. We've heard from residents on the street, in emails, letter writing. So I'll open it up to council. And thank you for your comments. All right. So, Councilor Burke.
Yeah, and I do want to reference some of those concerns that I heard from residents. In fact, I woke up Saturday morning and I had a phone call from a resident and an email from a different resident involved with this. And I do want to highlight that 3 different individuals reached out to me directly. The president of the Sheep Creek Arts Council, a board member of the library, and also a leading member of the Diamond Valley Quilters. And I highlight each of those because the Sheep Creek Arts Council, they do their annual bake sale there and they raised over $4,000 at that time for their funding. The library board member mentioned that that is their book sale and it's a benefit to the library and among other things. But the one that really got me was the Diamond Valley Quilters. That's their one and only opportunity to raise funds. And they turn around and give those funds to different associations. And the one they highlighted in the email to me was the Rowan House. And we know that that's for women who have been through an abusive situation. And that's their leading and only opportunity they have in the year to actually provide that kind of funding. And they're positive that they would, those funds would dry up if it was moved to the Black Diamond side of Diamond Valley. I also then reached out to 3 local businesses to see how impacted they would be. I'm not going to name those businesses, but one business would see a loss of 150% of their revenue for that day. They see 150% jump on that one day. The other business sees a significant increase on that day. They've a bit newer into the community, but they said they would be significantly impacted and see a reduction there. And the other business, as it has been going on, their patio is full during that time. So it definitely impacts our local businesses there. And so in that event, I just wanted to make sure we add to that. So another concern I have, interestingly, and I'll present this as a motion, but I wanted to bring it forward. Each of these 6 individuals that I spoke with, either by email or by phone, they referenced it still as Discovery Day. So I'm wondering if we can, as still keep it inclusive, just add the Diamond Valley Discovery Day, because it does reflect upon the heritage and how many years it's been ongoing, and that's what it's there. So that's, I'll probably add that in as a motion. I can make that motion now. Because we have to keep it positive, I will make a positive motion that we continue to host the Diamond Valley Discovery Day event at its current location in Millennium Park on the same day as we have the parade. Making certain that motion indicates it will be Diamond Valley Discovery Day.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Gordon. I echo a lot of the same sentiments as you. And I too will keep this in the positive realm. I did want to just mention that I think it's important worth noting that through amalgamation, we certainly didn't want to see changes like this. We didn't want to see part of the history and the culture of either of the communities, whether indirectly or directly taken away. And I think that it's more than worth the traffic and the headaches that we have to go through to get to the dunk tank on time. As we race back and forth between the parade and Millennium Park. I did want to thank administration because I do think that this is a great blueprint for perhaps Canada Day, because we do a big event. We don't? Didn't we have music last year? Oh, okay, my apologies. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm thinking about Ian Tyson. My apologies. I think that there's a lot of good work here in the event that we do have anything else. So I want to thank administration for the time that they did put into the work here, because it's a great blueprint for any sort of activity moving forward. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I definitely didn't want to see amalgamation take away from either sides of the river, and I think that it's worth keeping it the way that it is for the foreseeable future.
Thank you, Councillor Hawley.
I disagree with you both. I think that I live on the Turner Valley side, and I don't mean it any respect for it, but I feel like Millennium Park is very restrictive and for future growth. I think that the ability to have vendors underneath the Scott Seaman under a covered roof will attract a lot more vendors. I think that there is a loss of people when you go to the parade and then move to Discovery Days. I think we lose a bunch of people that don't bother coming on over. That might happen to come and walk over because they're already there into the areas. I think you could grow the market a lot more. And like, I know people like to have it hosted in their things. It is possible to bring them over. Sale there, join up with the Wildfields High School Library. I don't know. I think that if you have people going to a parade, then going to Discovery Days, and then going to a third venue, you will lose people. But if I get tradition, and I'm happy to, I think I'm gonna lose the vote on this one for sure. But I think that the growth potential is there under this scenario. And for whatever comes in the future, with the Scott Seaman, with the arena, if we ever perform the curling room, you could have a huge market, you have school there, you have extra parking on the field, you have, you know, whatever we do all diamonds in the school area. I think that we're restricted in Millennium Park, but if we're fine with keeping it how it is forever after, that's.
Clever.
I have lots of questions about logistics, and let's just vote and see how that comes out. And if I have to ask, I'll do that.
Excellent. I'll just weigh in because I like to drag it on so that I can watch you tweak.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there you go. I'd like to thank staff for doing a great job in presenting this. I have heard from residents though, and it's not just on things like this. It's speed at which change is happening through amalgamation. Has a lot of residents really rattled, and as much as I support the idea and the concept that the Council Holiday has put out, I also would weigh in the passion that residents have for our actual Discovery Days in Millennium Park and partnerships with the oil and gas industry. You know, I don't have a lot of good to say sometimes about them, but you know, they need to step up to the plate too and be part of our community. They were in the past and they still are. They're attached at the hip, and so they need to partner. So for this one, I'm going to vote to remain in town. I do think that, as Deputy Mayor suggested, you know, here's a blueprint maybe for another festival like Canada Day that we might want to try and pilot. And if we can start to get those groups that really look at this as their fundraising day to come under that roof, because we have lucked out in the last 13 years with no rain. And I keep saying it every year when we're at the barbecue, is this the year that we're going to get hit? And everything goes, well, I guess we're sticking it in the freezer, right? Like, so, you know, there's value in moving to that location. It's going to take years for people to embrace it. And the traditions that we have put in place in both towns are not something that we can just, you know, in the first year amalgamation, I think moving some things too fast, and we need to just take our time, pick our battles. And I think this is one that we leave alone for this year, maybe two. And then we start to pilot this exact layout, this exact presentation into another form. And I think Canada Day might be a great one, but we're gonna have to throw money at it if we're gonna be putting our money where our mouth is. So that's all. I'll be voting, and I'll just call.
Heather here. Heather here.
Heather, go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm in favor of just leaving it alone for now. But when you mentioned not getting rained on, I just want to remind everyone about the year that we had a foot of snow on parade day. And that was the year that Lorene Harper was riding in the parade. And every tent collapsed that was put up. But anyway, it would be, I think it's a great blueprint as well to move forward with, but I also agree, too much change too fast. So I think that we need to be looking to the future to make some changes, but I don't think we need to rush it. And I think this is a great blueprint, and I thank staff very much for the report.
Excellent, thank you. All in favor of the motion? And all opposed? Thank you, Councillor Holiday. And I'm assuming you voted in favor.
Yes.
Councillor Thompson, yep, thank you. All right. That's carried. And moving on. Traffic calming measures, is that where we're at, 11.1 guys? No, this is just reports, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need, we can just,
We need you to make a motion to accept it for information.
yeah, that's totally fine. No, very well. I think it's very well they do. Great.
Great report, Mr. B, you're listening, thanks for that. Willing to, or I'd like to make a motion to accept this application. Thanks, big guy.
Going once, going twice. All in favor? Veronica was in favor. Just put it out there.
I,
There you go. Take a motion, 11.2 action tracker.
Thanks, Mayor Crane.
I can give you that.
Before you is an action tracker, council, which is meant to show all the relevant resolutions of council, not the menial ones like accepting of minutes or other things, as you can imagine. We dated this back to, if I recall, early October. There might be a couple of outstanding items prior to October, and we apologize. 1st of October, we switched systems. And it would be with great difficulty if we were to be able to produce 2 separate reports on this. So if there is something specific that council's wondering about, happy to take an email when we get back to the office and give you an update on that. But what you can see here is basically 2 categories. Everything that's been assigned to us since October, and we've categorized them as finished or unfinished, and those that are unfinished have an update beside them. I'll take questions.
Well, I'll go for your CAO. 23rd of November, I think that's the 4th of October. Yeah, there you go. Council direct administrator to investigate declassification of brownfield lands to determine redesignation. Can provide increased tax rate. Goes right. What does that actually look like when it comes to those conversations and timelines about brownfields? How long could that be? Eternity.
Which date, Mayor Crane?
23/10/04. So October 4th. October 4th. It's like 2 pages, I think. Yeah, 2 pages in. Number 20. Oh, okay. If you look at that, well.
Mayor Crane, if I may.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed this out because this was in context of potentially,
121.
based on the MGA allowances, to reassess or to redesignate with a different tax roll. Because if we have lands that are being land banked, and so to speak, in this area that might be brownfields, maybe they're delaying the remediation so that it can be serviceable lands. That was the context. So I know we're under a time crunch because we would have to amend our own bylaw for these zones so that when assessment comes, we can then potentially increase taxation on these properties. So that's why Mayor Crane's asking the timeline there.
I apologize. Predates me, but maybe Carrie has an answer, not to put her on the spot, otherwise we can get an answer.
So she has 30 grand, I saw her. Yeah, he was like this sideways, you're gonna throw me under the bus, Mayor. Yeah, I heard her, no. Any idea, Carrie, on things brownfield related?
I can't speak the tax portion, that's not my area of expertise by any means. From the planning perspective, it can get a bit arduous. The reason it hasn't been acted on is capacity. We have been slammed with applications and those have been rising to the top, trying to address those. Which is why it's kind of just sitting right now. I acknowledge that it's there.
Yeah, no, I know, we're getting slammed. Keep those people rolling. Yeah. No, I was just curious. Cindy.
I appreciate that you have a new system and that you're honest about that. the challenges, but I am worried about if we've missed anything, because as counselors, we dump it to you guys on motions. And then we forget about it. So unless somebody goes back and looks through, and I don't think we need this level of action tracker, but I think somebody does need to go back through and make sure that we haven't missed the first months of an information.
I love this one.
Yeah.
So
Agree,
Yeah.
Councillor Holiday, and we are, we're
Okay.
checking that.
can you, yeah, if you can make sure that happens, especially the handoff to the CEO, because, yeah, this is what we rely on. So,
So the action tracker is on the handover list, just so you know. So, and if that fails. We have heard.
Institutional knowledge.
yeah, so I'm happy to accept the information, but, prior to your departure, if we can verify that there's nothing missing from the first 10 months.
Yep.
I put that in my motion.
Okay, excellent. I like that motion. Let's go.
Yeah.
Going once?
Can I say something first?
Indeed, you can. That's why I say going once.
I must say that I really want to thank administration for putting this together. It's a really nice list, and I'm hoping that we can see this on a quarterly basis moving forward. So if we could add that to the motion, that would be great.
Yeah.
And direct administration to continue doing sales. Did you get that?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just discussing quarterly. It may be better than quarterly. It may be better than quarterly.
Yeah.
Councillor
That could be.
Thompson.
Excellent. All right, amendment accepted, Councillor Thompson, and all in favor?
Aye.
And that is carried. Thank you. Free stream collection report. So we asked for this, council, due to some increases that were coming down the pipe from Okotoks regarding our waste management service. Todd, did you have anything to add on this, or it's just straight numbers, right?
It's just straight answer to the question that you had. If you have detailed questions, apologies, Mr. Beaton's on some well-earned time off, and we'll have to get to those later.
I do know that the organic waste is so substantial. Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, and I think this has been in the works where Diamond Valley's working with Okotoks on an education system, like a public reminder. Any ETA on that? There's nothing mentioned here on when you might be able to see something like that rolled out.
Through the mayor and Councillor Gordon, I don't have a date with you, but I recall Mr. Beaton mentioning that in fiscal year 2024, there will be something happening. My apologies, I can get you that date though.
Yeah.
If we are aware.
Yeah, if you're aware of the date, the reason I ask is because I would like it sooner in the year. Primarily because if you look at the organics, there's a significant portion of the community not even using it once. And so it would be great if we had some information potentially as to why have that in an education plan. I know one of the challenges I've heard from neighbors is getting, because your organics are supposed to be bagged predominantly, like your grass cuttings. So if you put that in a plastic bag, that's not organic. So where does that end up going? And Costco has larger organic bags, but they don't fit when you're dumping grass in your grass catcher, right? That frame is too big for that bag, they're little bags. So I might ask, I don't want to know if I need to make a motion, but it'd be great if Craig were here, because I've checked online for larger compost bags that are made of compostable plastics outside of the cardboard yard waste bags that you can buy in large ones that are larger, but they break apart when you're doing your work. So I don't know if the town has access to those larger compostable bags that we could use.
I'm sorry, right here.
You're not supposed to.
Councillor,
Hello?
It says on the brochure that
Hello?
you're not supposed to.
hello, Heather.
Is it really grass cuttings and branches and stuff have to be bagged? Because I thought it was just the indoor organics and cat litter, et cetera, that had to be bagged.
Well,
wasn't
thanks for bringing that
bagging
up,
my
Heather,
grass.
because if that's the case, perhaps the brochure needs to be a bit more clear. Because the brochure is quite unclear on that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Because
I can tell you as a resident of Okotoks, the grass clippings go right in the green bin. The,
Yeah.
the others could too, except I don't want it free flowing under my sink
That's
or
right.
kitchen, so to speak. So we do use a compostable bag,
Yeah.
but I don't believe there's any restrictions on that. I'll look.
That's where Veronica knows deer carcasses going. Go ahead.
You can actually put carcass in there. You can,
Yeah. We can.
you absolutely can, although Fish and Wildlife doesn't want you to do that. So, my question is for the CAO, in your opinion, when would be a good time to schedule administrative inquiries to the kind of public works? If I was gonna schedule an email for him to receive, what would be a good date? Put that in for.
So that you get a timely response at the next council meeting or when Mr. Meek will be back from vacation.
The second, please.
There you go.
You're always speaking in codes.
I know.
I would suggest, middle of next week would be a good time.
Thank you. I'll give a motion to accept for information.
I was just gonna say, kudos to everyone for increasing their recycling and that we're putting so much in organics. Because the organics is the absolute worst thing to be in landfill. So I think that would be great.
Excellent. And Hazel, Councilor Martin sits on the landfill commission. So if we had other detailed questions, she could answer those, but she's unfortunately here tonight. All right, motion on the table to accept for information. All in favor? It's carried. Heather?
I,
Give. Administrative inquiries. Councilor Gordon has one for expropriation 12.1. Councilor Gordon, would you like to pose it or would you just like to read it? Accept it?
Yeah,
Are you happy with it?
It's very detailed information. I do want to thank Carrie for bringing this forward. A question I do have for Carrie before I accept it for information. Larger communities often use expropriation for municipal services. I'm thinking of the Green Line in Calgary, the challenges that they've had with that. In a community our size, what would we foresee moving forward from a position where we may need to enact the expropriation? Because my understanding of the research I've done in the last couple of weeks, it's few and far between in smaller communities, obviously. But as we grow, there may be potential that we have to consider this. So in your foresight, have you given any thought about where we may need to use this powerful tool?
The mayor, what I have read and absorbed in my somewhat short time trying to memorize and get acquainted with two municipality documents concurrently. There isn't anything that really stands out to me at this time. As you said, it's kind of a rare tool. It's where there's no other means possible to carry out a public project. If there was an alignment of an LRT or a water main or something of that nature that had to go through a certain area for whatever reason, and it was somewhat new, we had to plan for that past, that expropriation might be a tool. Fortunately, a lot of our planning has been done reasonably well on both sides of the river and planning for future growth and such. So again, at this point, there's nothing that has jumped out at me as urgent.
Motion.
Yeah, and once again, thanks so much for putting this together for us. Lots of good, awesome reading. So I just want to present a motion that we accept this for information to make sure it's part of our minutes.
Excellent. Thank you. All in favor? It's good. 12.2 municipal development plan. Councilor Gordon.
Yeah, this is another one that we wanted to bring forward, or I wanted to bring forward regarding our scope and timelines. If I'm not mistaken, we put a significant amount of money in our budget for 2024 regarding the MDP completion. So I'm just wondering what timelines we have.
In speaking to the planning development part, our goal is to have something ready to go to market by the end of Q1, so the end of March.
Excellent. Excellent. Yep, I like that. That's great. Okay,
So that's excellent news. So I will make a motion that we accept that. Looking forward to having that on our desk sometime in March. Thank you.
So Mayor Crane, excuse me, through the mayor, Councilor Gordon, unless I missed something, it will come to you for that review. It's an operational matter. We'll prepare the tender documents. You'll be involved in helping us guide the MVP. You'll certainly have input, but as far as tendering that and hiring and managing the contract, that will be a staff requirement.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. So current concern I have, and it was public, right? The EDC, Carrie's presentation. Yeah, that was public, right? There was a question from the committee about the length of time the MVP might take. And Carrie's response was, it could be up to 2 years. So that is a bit of concern within the community. So one of the concerns I have is, it's called Parkinson's law, right? The longer you allocate time for a project, that project takes that time, the more time you allocate it, right? So I'm a little bit concerned about a two-year timeline. So I don't know how we can present that in the scope so that we can assure, and the reason we're asking it's council directive, right? We understand the importance of this. If potentially, I don't want to speak out of turn with council, but as one voice on council, what can we do to hasten that? If there's a financial implication, then we have to revisit that. Because I know 2 years from now, this council might not even be in place. So that's a very challenging timeline.
I understood, and I think that's a high watermark as far as length of time to get that done. It really is a function of capacity, a function of the contractor that we have, and upfront with some of the. I mean, we can insist that 3, 4, 5, 6 months is not reasonable for an MVP. There's a lot of public consultation and a lot of work that needs to go into that. But Carrie can speak to this if I'm way off base here, but it will be. That's the floor, and then there's the ceiling as far as that window goes. I think 2 years really is a function of the capacity we have to manage that contract and the contractor will get into place. Because there are a lot of stakeholders that need to be consulted in that process. So understanding that there's an election coming, whether this has to be completed by then or well down a path of development, I guess is a conversation council can have as far as timelines go. But it's difficult for us to say in the RFP document, this will be done in 6 months. We just know there's too many variables and factors that come into play, but nobody wants this to get done in an expedient factor more than staff does. We don't want it hanging around. So I know that sounds like a bit of a wishy-washy answer for council, but your concerns around timelines are noted.
Yeah. And I think on that note, we have a new CAO starting March 1st. Soft handover in a week's time, give or take. Immediately following, we're going to have our council strategic plan session with the new CAO. I think this is one of those things we radar with the management team and himself. And we just say, yeah, we got 2 years. What's our top 3? And that's what we go for, and that's what we focus on. So we'll hit there on that strategic plan. Do we have, I believe there is, yeah. All in favor? Carrie? Correspondence? Thank you. Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting minutes September 14th. Okay. Yeah, all of them.
You can just,
What do we do?
if you want them, I'll write it down.
Throw down for all.
Yeah, done, all of them except all 13.
So one key point in this is the resignation.
I was just gonna point out. So did we want to appoint another member or put it out there, or are you guys happy with?
We'll be talking about that.
Okay.
Could I'd like to invite Ms. LeBlanc into this conversation here. I know she's got some thoughts around this, and this is the third resignation we've had in recent months. I know, not to put you on the spot, but I think she's got some thoughts here.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, CEO Sharp, and through the mayor. At the recent meeting of the EDC, or the last meeting in January, it was discussed that the EDC would like to take a look at its terms of reference and really evaluate sort of the level of involvement and also satisfaction that the members are getting from the committee itself. We had Bruna Staples attend as Ledge Services Manager, and she was great in guiding the group and helping them better understand their role and how to change that if they wish to. So that discussion is going to take place on Thursday, tomorrow. And I think from there, there will be a decision as to whether or not to increase the numbers, and a recommendation will come back to council. So the recommendation today is to accept, but also to hold off on advertising for any of the new positions until such time as the EDC can make those recommendations back to council.
Thank you. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah. Do we need to deal with the third resignation since it came in post publishing the agenda, or do we say that for the next one?
I would just like to make my motion just to accept
Excellent.
without the answers.
The action then.
To accept resignation.
I'll make the action. item.
I'm not making two separate motions. I just want to accept all of the information. Or you can accept a resignation after.
Yeah, sure. All right, all in favor? Okay, we accepted all of that. Now I will accept, actually,
Unless John or.
No.
Yeah, okay. To accept the resignation, sadly.
Is there? Yep, go ahead.
I'm not on the EDAC, but I think it is my place as a counselor to provide thought to you as members. Is that similar to our Parks and Recreation, unless people have a project or something to rally around and get involved in, I think it's hard to keep members ongoing, interested year after year after year. So if there's any way to consider that, when you have your discussions, that
Great point. Councillor Clark.
I disagree. The three resignations are completely unrelated, and the mainstay of the committee have been, all those members have been there since inception. So it's not that we aren't keeping them interested or involved. It's that, you know, it's been 5 years, 4 years. But also the project is economic development, which is ongoing forever and ever and ever.
All righty. Motion on the floor. All in favor? Excellent, thank you. We have
That's it.
correspondence from EK Dewey for St. Patrick's Day and a letter from Crescent Point regarding assignment of surface lease agreements. And we can just take those for what they are,
Yeah.
correspondence. And we will then.
Oh, no, before we adjourn, this is Paul's last meeting.
It is.
Is your last meeting or you're?
Once a month, I guess we got,
My last day is the 16th, so this is my last public council.
Would you like to say a few words?
Well, I think it's only right. 4 months, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 months, an exceptional job. Council, I think every month I gave you more kudos and more kudos about how happy we were as a council. And really wish you all the best moving forward. No doubt, we're probably going to call you back someday in another year and say, hey, we got a little project here, could use your expertise on. But we are so thankful for you stepping in the interim CAO role, putting the spine back into our staff, propping up the organization, and really just being there for the easy calls and the stability. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And with that, we will adjourn. At, oh yeah, bang, at 8:17. Wow. Haha.